I'd like to thank Todd for telling me I've been on mute this whole time. Oh, technology, I love you. Anyway, everything I just said. Welcome to the Kansas City User Group meeting. I am Dale Ziegler, Senior Business Analyst with Seven Summits, which is part of IBM. And then my co-leader, who is usually with me, Jeff Berger, is VP, Director of Sales Operations at Academy Bank. He owns the Salesforce product. He's doing some really amazing things there, and so amazing he is stuck in 2022 budget planning meetings right now. He will try to join us later on if he can. If not, we miss him, and we will catch him on the next one. If you need to reach either of us or both of us, you can get us at this email. It distributes to both of us in Salesforce's user group email space, and we both respond pretty quickly. So just send us a note if you need anything. We are recording. That was not muted like I was. We are recording. If for any reason you don't want to be recorded or are not permitted to be recorded, just please drop now. We will post this to our YouTube channel either this evening or sometime this week, as well as we'll definitely share this deck, and then anything that Kevin or Maurizio is able to share as well. Links as well. We'll have all of that out as soon as we possibly can. But again, because we're recording, if you can't stay on, please drop. And hey, if you're not speaking, please mute. So someone is unmuted with some not great background noise right now. So if you can, please just go ahead and click over and mute yourself just to be safe.
Dale, this is Todd. Are you sharing slides?
Did that go away too? God.
I'm not seeing slides. Is anyone else?
Yeah, no. When you reminded me that I was on mute and I couldn't
Got
find
it.
the cord, it's been a day. It has been a day.
Thank you, sir.
Anywho, thank you. If you are not speaking, please mute. We will have Q&A opportunities. We do encourage small questions during the presentation, so obviously go ahead and unmute yourself for those. But normally just keep yourself muted. We all know conference call etiquette at this point. Just stay muted. Let's keep the music or the noise down to a minimum. And then also, if you are able to rename yourself in WebEx participants and it does not show your real name, we've had instances on user groups and MVP office hours and other calls where kids' names have popped up or kids' gamers' names or whatever, which it's 2021. This is the time that we live in. It's kind of funny, but this is a networking call. So if we just know who is actually on the call, we just appreciate that. And then when you hop off the call, feel free to flip it back to whatever you want. So no judgment here. I just want to know who we have on the call. That's all. Are you going to stop flipping slides on me now too? There we go. All right. Many thanks to our sponsor, Sonar. Kevin Magyar is going to present in just a little bit on the Sonar product and getting a very robust metadata dictionary out of your org to really step up your analysis, your planning, and everything game on your org. So thank you to Kevin. If you did not see any of the publicity along the way, he'll be raffling off an iPad, like a real life brand new iPad. So he will share the link to enter later on in his presentation. We do have a Slack channel. We are getting some momentum on it. If you are not part of it and want to be, again, shoot us a note at the combined email address, and either Jeff or I will get you added as soon as possible. If this is your first time to a user group meeting, either in Kansas City or in general, welcome. I think right now the only active user group is us in the general space. Brian Hadaway may still be doing stuff in the developer space as well. But I think the other groups have kind of gone dormant, but we would love to have as much activity as possible. As the general user group, anybody and everybody can come. We have bits and pieces of all the other groups. We all learn from each other. We can all collaborate. We can all share. We may have had completely different journeys to get us to this point, but that doesn't mean we can't learn from each other and help each other out. So if you're interested in any of the other groups, if you're interested in potentially leading one of the other groups, check out this link to get more information. reach out to me or Jeff if you're interested in leading one of the groups. We're more than happy to get you connected with whatever it is that you would like to do. Upcoming here locally, we do have our next 2 meetings tentatively planned. So save the date, January 25th. Screen Meet will be sponsoring with Alex Montero. And March 1st, Own Backup will be back and sponsoring again. For both of those, we could really use a second presenter if anybody is interested. You could be a Screen Meet or Own Backup customer. You could show your company's use case of Salesforce. You could show us a dev org and just something really cool that you've built that you're tracking in life. There is really no limit as to what content you'd want to share, but we would love to have you showcase it. So if you're interested, when we share out the deck later, this will be an active link to the speaker interest form. It's also up in the Kansas City user group, Salesforce community group, so you can go click there. It's just a Google form. We'll take your information and reach out to you and get that set up. We would love to have you present. Do we have any of the other KC group leaders on the call? I haven't checked all the participants yet. I see Brian. Brian, how you doing, sir? Are you going to have any dev stuff coming up? It says you're unmuted. We might be having some technical difficulties there. That's totally okay. It's technology. Do we have any other user group leaders or anyone from outside Kansas City that wants to say hi, since we are in this virtual world?
Toronto, Canada.
Toronto, yes.
Little ways outside of KC.
A little bit. We have someone from California. What part? And I take interest because I grew up in Northern California. We have Norfolk, Virginia. We have Chicago. Brian had posted in the chat earlier that they are planning a dev group meeting for January. Well, regardless of where you may be, welcome. We love having you. That's it sucks that we're still in a world that that virtual is the smarter way to go. Would love to be getting together, but still not totally safe to be as all-inclusive as we'd like. But being virtual opens it up to beyond just Kansas City. Obviously, Maurizio is presenting to us from our lovely neighbors up north in Canada. We've had the Netherlands, we've had Australia, we've had India. So it's great to be able to meet like this and bring more people into it. Have a couple of folks from Indy, love the Indy market. So welcome everyone. Do we have any Salesforce employees on the call? Flipping through, I'm not seeing any names that I recognize. Sometimes they are able to join, but they are incredibly busy, especially as they get to the end of their fiscal year. All right, do we have any first-time attendees who want to introduce themselves? Anyone?
Hi, my name is John Borders. I work for a company called The Insurance Partners here in Kansas City. I met Dale this morning, so very new. I'm a temporary Salesforce admin. I'm a wholesale insurance salesperson working for a small company in Overland Park, Kansas, who is being a bridge till we hire our next Salesforce admin. So nice to meet you all, and thanks for letting me join.
Thank you, John. And yes, long time no talk. I did not get a chance to add anything onto the deck about this, but I met with John to discuss. They will be looking for an admin, for an administrator here pretty quickly. So as soon as they have the job description up in public, we will be sharing that out. Other job openings to share, like I said, Jeff, unless Jeff snuck in, I don't see his name on the thing. He is looking for an admin at Academy Bank. Mason Goodman with Salesforce is looking for a solution engineer. And I have not seen Kelsey. Are you on, Kelsey Slater? clicking through way too many windows here to see who's here and who's not. Totally okay, but Kelsey Slater is also looking for an admin at the Bank of Missouri. So again, we will share this deck out later with whatever links that we have. So these three will be out there, and then when John's able to get his job description out, we'll help distribute that out as well. Matt, Mr. Bender just shared DEG job opening, so that is in the chat if you want to check that out now, and we'll get that added to the deck as well. We have, go ahead.
Dale, I was gonna kind of comment on a couple of these. I'm one of the people that has a new role. I got a position as a Salesforce lead at a company in Indianapolis, so I'm excited about that, and hope to meet these couple indie people on here. I'm still going to be living in Kansas City, so it's a remote role, but I'll be kind of going back and forth a little bit. I also wanted to comment on the Academy Bank job opening, since Jeff can't be here. That is open because I'm leaving, so that is to backfill my position. I just got to say, I had an excellent experience at Academy. It was very tough to leave. It's an amazing opportunity, and it was really too much for me to pass up for my family. But even as good of the opportunity as it was still a tough decision for me because it's so great to work with Jeff. I actually met him in this user group about 1.5 years ago. That's how I got to know him. That's how I got into the position. He's a great person to work for. I felt like I was doing the job and progressing my career while I worked there because I learned so much working with Jeff. He's a guru, but he's also very invested in his team's advancement and skill set. So if you're thinking about making a change, or if you're looking for a job in the first place, Jeff is an awesome person to work with and work for, and Academy Bank is a great place to work at. So there's my spiel, Dale.
Jeff is by far one of the best humans on this planet. I could not agree with you more of everything that you just said. And congratulations on the new role. And I can only imagine how difficult it was to make that decision. But I get where you are, a family first. You got to take care of your family no matter what. We're all here to take care of each other, especially our family. So congratulations, and definitely connect with the indie folks there in the chat. And that's what this group is all about, is making those connections and helping each other help each other. So very cool, very, very great to hear. Any other new jobs, any new roles open up for anybody? No problem. John, do you want to take a quick 2 seconds to talk about what you're going to be opening up, since we don't have the JD to share out yet? You want to just take 2 seconds to talk about what you'll be looking for?
Sure. So our prior person in the role was actually not certified through Salesforce, and was really just an internal person who had Salesforce experience. So over the past 18 months or so, we've been partnering with Dale, what do you call them, like a third-party vendor called Shell Black,
A consulting partner, yeah.
Consulting firm, to build out a pretty comprehensive platform to help us manage our business processes and sales processes within this wholesale insurance space. We work with corporate clients and employee benefit firms all over the country, but we are based here in Kansas City. So the role that we're specifically looking for is someone with a Salesforce certificate, at least 1 year of experience. We do have, and I'm looking at my notes, apologies, because I'm definitely not the guru here, but we do have a client cloud and a partner cloud as well. So any experience within those, communities would be great, but certainly not required. And really just looking for somebody strategic, somebody who eventually could lead a team of individuals, because we're really just kind of getting going from the ground floor here, and we're growing as a company like wildfire. And we'd like to look for somebody who would like to grow with our company.
Awesome. And like John said, I got to meet with him earlier this morning, and they are very excited to get this role filled. So definitely sync up with John either in the chat or, like I said, as soon as we have a job description link, we'll get that shared out as well. So
great, thank you.
Yeah. Cruising through the chat, Simon, first-time attendee from Virginia Beach, studying for the Advanced Admin Cert. Good luck and welcome. And Michelle here in Overland Park, studying for the admin certification. Best of luck. We're rooting for both of you. Who else has either passed or failed or is studying for something? Ooh, data management certification. That very much up there. Good luck, Svetlana. Chatoye. I know I butchered that, so I apologize, but past B2B solution architect, very cool. Brandon, platform app builder, very, very cool. Kathy, congratulations, Experience Cloud, very nice. Also planning on data management certification. That is a tough one, but that's a good one. Harshini, passed Capato Fundamentals 1, very nice, congratulations. If any of you have been to any of our past meetings, it's okay to say you failed an exam here. We actually celebrate that more than we do the past ones, because a failed test is just an opportunity to pass it in the future, to collaborate with anybody else in the group, to learn what they did, what they didn't do. We're all here to support each other. There's no shame in failing. I mean, I always say I should pull up the list of exams I've taken and failed, and it's pretty extensive, but we've all been there. So let's be here to help each other. Totally a safe place. Advanced admin in January, hopefully certified next time we get together. Yep, definitely, hopefully. Very nice. Has anybody joined any study groups or looking for any study groups that might be able to connect with each other? And that's okay if not. It's not a requirement. All right. All right, we'll cruise through the rest of these, and then we'll get to the actual content. Oh, Harshini is looking for an advanced admin study group. Okay, if anybody knows of anything in that space, go ahead and put it in the chat. Mary's studying for nonprofit cloud. Awesome. Yep, would love a study group. Definitely, everybody, check out the chat if there's any way that you can help put groups together. Okay, we're gonna cruise through the rest of these. So within the Salesforce community at large, MVP office hours is called that myself, Squire Kirshner in Milwaukee, and Joy Shutters-Helbing in Chicago, that we put together twice a month. It's usually the first and third Friday at 1 o'clock. If you're stumped on an issue you're having in your org, if you want to ask just a general question about Salesforce or release notes or anything like that, but it's largely it's an open office hours to just bring any question. Anybody can ask questions. Anybody can answer questions. We actually have a fair number of people who come just to hear what's being discussed and jump in on the conversation. So it's definitely open to everybody, but go ahead and check out those links. Our next call will be next Friday, the 17th. And then obviously we'll take a few weeks off for the holidays and pick back up. I want to say it's January 7th, but next call is December 17th. So go ahead and register and join us. We'd love to have you there. I know Mike and Todd and Daniel are, they're always there as well. So we have a really good local presence on the national call. World tours and Salesforce events. This week is Dreamforce to You in New York City. So I think there's going to be information on how to watch that virtually there at those links. Trailhead Live, getting more into the education side of things, as well as the webinars. I love those pages because not only do you get information about upcoming webinars, but they also record all of those and have a really good filtering mechanism. So if you missed a live session and you wanted to go join something on Flows or whatever, chances are they will have recorded it. You can filter down to it and still see the recorded content. So as you're studying, as you're learning, definitely keep those bookmarked and check those out. Community events, those are smaller Dreamforce style events that those of us in the community put together. They're slowly opening up to in-person, but a lot of them are still virtual. But definitely check that link out for what's happening wherever in the world. Certification prep weeks, we'll touch on this in a slide or two a little bit more. But Danielle Karendian with Salesforce, she's the one who posts all of the content in the Salesforce community. I would say just follow her. She posts stuff pretty frequently about the certification prep and certification days, which are day-long or 2-day-long courses on a specific topic like the admin certification, Service Cloud, whatever. And then there's usually a pretty decent discounted voucher at the end of it. So I want to say maybe 40% off if you then take your certification within X amount of time. So definitely go check those out. The mentorship program, I have been a mentor through that. I absolutely loved it. Some of my mentors have gone on to become mentors themselves. So if you are looking to either give back and mentor someone, or you're new to the space, or you just want someone to help guide you and be a mentee, that program is great because they take a lot of factors into consideration to find the best fit for you. It's not just random placement. So check that out if you're on either end of that spectrum. And then of course the idea exchange, I don't think they're doing a prioritization right now, but they do it a few times a year. Help shape the roadmap in a very constructive way. And probably get some insight into, yes, your idea has been out there for a few years and maybe it hasn't been voted up. You want to know why. There's always a reason why. It's not just that they're ignoring it. Go be part of the solution. So go check out that blog and get more information if you want to help shape future releases. Certification days, I just updated this last night and talked about following Danielle on the community. That link up at the top is the blog post that contains all of the information as well as sign up. There are a handful still coming up in December as well as quite a few in January. So if you're interested in joining any of those, check those out. And then I think Thursday or Friday, they released the time schedule on the Spring 22 release. So all we have is this infographic right now and then a link to the blog, but pre-release org sign up goes for another 9 days. And then right before we all go on the holiday, release notes will be coming out. So, a great way to spend your winter break or get away from your in-laws or whatever excuse you need. The release notes will be out on the 22nd. And then everything out from there. And generally those dates don't change, but of course they are subject to change, and just follow the Trailblazer community to stay up to date on all of it. Certification maintenance. I hope everybody hit their deadline of last Friday to get these done and that no one lost their hard-earned certifications. I did not update this because this is the latest that they're still showing on their site. They have not given an exact date in April to get any of these maintenance exams taken care of, but if you haven't done it, go do it. Not right now. Wait until the meeting's done because we want you here. But do it as soon as possible. It doesn't take more than 20-30 minutes to knock it out, and you're good for a year. So go check those out. And then, of course, the ones in the summer. But always stay on top of your certifications. All right, time for me to shut up. It's always everybody's favorite part. Our agenda for today, first up, we will have Kevin from Sonar to show us their product that exports and many other things, a metadata dictionary for your org. And then Maurizio Gioffre he'll be talking about building your online brand and as it comes to job searches and really taking control of your career path. So but first we have Kevin Magyar from Sonar, and I think he's brought a couple of his friends with him. So I am going to stop sharing and hand it over to Kevin and let him do his thing.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dale. So I'll pull up my screen here. Get this out for you. All right, let me get rid of that. There we go. Can I get a quick thumbs up, Dale? Can you guys see what I'm seeing here? I don't think we want that. Can you see the presenter view on this?
Yeah, it's dragging in that other smaller one.
Right. Yeah, we don't need it. I just want to make sure I had my notes up there front and center to say thank you, Dale and Jeff, for pulling this together. We really appreciate you allowing us to get in front of this audience. We've heard a lot about the Kansas City user group, so thank you everybody else that joined. As Dale mentioned, Sonar is a Salesforce metadata dictionary, does a little bit more than that, but for some quick intros on my side, my name is Kevin Magyar. I'm the account executive over here at Sonar. My whole job, as you can probably guess, is to educate potential customers on the platform, determine if our solution is something that can solve some of their problems, and help them guide them through that evaluation process. Also joining, I have Sam Floyd. He's our value engineer. He is a certified administrator for Salesforce. He sat in a role similar to yours previously. He was a Sonar customer. Was so good at it, we went out and recruited him over here. I brought him on to make sure that we're able to answer any of your questions. I know enough about Salesforce and Sonar to be dangerous. Sam is just on a whole other level. So he'll be here to answer those tough questions that hopefully you have for us. And then also joining is Dave Thomas, our solutions analyst. He did a lot of work to help get this event up and running, and he's going to help us keep up with the chat and make sure we answer anybody questions that they have there. Quick agenda for what we're going to cover today. Just want to tell you a quick story about why Sonar came to be, how it all got formulated, and then we'll hop into what we do, how it works. We'll get into the demo. For anybody that's keeping track, that's going to start on slide number 10. So not a whole lot of talking between now and then. We will have designated time for questions and answers, but if you have a question or a comment while we're going through, don't hesitate to reach out, drop it in the chat, raise your hand, interrupt me. Would love this to be more of a conversation if possible. And then finally, we'll have the details for the iPad giveaway. And everybody that's attending now has a chance to win. So make sure you stick around to the end. It's pretty simple to get signed up for that. So before I go to the next slide, quick background on how Sonar came to be. Our co-founder and CEO, Brad Smith, sat in a role very similar to a lot of the folks on the other side of the call right now. He was in RevOps and SalesOps, that administrator position. And when he was working at a company called Terminus that does account-based marketing and media buying and planning, he went to make an enhancement to their org on the back end. It was either updating a validation rule or some type of automation. But when he rolled out that enhancement, he wasn't aware of the downstream impact of that change. He didn't know that update that he made was tied to how they were calculating revenue. And when he rolled it out, he actually wiped out about 2.5 years worth of revenue data. So very quickly, he was getting emails and Slacks and realized that, hey, something is very, very wrong. So he locked himself in a room for the next 2 days, picked up the pieces, kind of put Humpty Dumpty back together. And then very shortly after that, he realized, there's got to be a better way to know what's going to change, what's going to be impacted when I make a change. So that's kind of what prompted us, and that's what we're trying to solve for. So this image right here does a great job visualizing what Sonar is meant to do, really connecting the dots between fields, objects, automations, even some of those third-party integrations that you can see, and really give you that blueprint to understand that downstream impact before you deploy something. If you need to clean up some tech debt, maybe you're replacing some technology with a new piece, and you don't know where all those old fields are connected, you can really dig those in. And then on top of that, once we scope those changes, once we implement those changes, we can also track those changes. So any addition, modification, or deletion, we're going to keep that automatically. So you can say goodbye to spreadsheets, you can say goodbye to those status updates to keep everybody up to date with what's going on. Some real quick stats. We did a survey of our 120 customers between June and July. Now we're up to around 180, so we're going pretty fast here. But we saw some really interesting stuff. When they were using Sonar, they found, almost 2/3 found errors a lot sooner. They spent 70% more time on strategic projects. So with Sonar, they're able to not focus on the tedious tactical things like maintenance or updating a pick list value or things like that. You're able to streamline that a lot quicker and really focus on the big picture priorities. And then 240 hours saved per year is, that's what software is all about. And then, of course, one day to discover when something breaks. The worst thing to happen is, you make an update and you don't know it's causing errors until 2 weeks, 2 months down the road. We're trying to uncover those a lot sooner. And so basically how Sonar does it, what we're going to do is provide a blueprint of your org. You're going to sync to our servers, and you're going to understand the complexity of everything. Again, objects, fields, integrations, automations. We're going to be auto tracking those changes, and then seeing the dependencies across metadata and integrations. It pretty much sums it up. I really love talking about this slide. The way that we work, people oftentimes when they're dealing with software, they have the experience of implementation takes forever, and they miss deadlines to get it started. The really cool thing about Sonar is within the time that even I've been speaking just now by myself, we could have synced with someone's org and started that process where we're importing that information. All it takes is that OAuth. We just need the username, password, and then the sync runs automatically in the background. There's very low API calls. Since we're only pulling metadata, not field level data, it's very lightweight, and it runs in the middle of the night. So you're not going to risk jamming anything up. And then finally, everything security is very tight. There's no personally identifiable information. We're clear with GDPR, CCPA. We also have SOC 2 Type 2 compliance. So the security process for us is pretty quick and painless. Now, who is the platform built for? I think just about everybody on the other end of this call could potentially find some value in it. But if we're looking at it as a whole, sales ops, rev ops, anybody that needs a look into Salesforce, anybody that's going to be scoping out changes or implementing changes could be benefiting this. Of course, admins and business analysts also have a use case. On the analyst side, they may need to understand, how the integrations are working if they own those, and we also are going to connect that. Another slide that I really like to show is, who we're helping. The really cool thing about what we're doing and the problems we're solving for is there's admins and there's operations folks across every single industry. We're in finance, software, CPG, all different types of personas. And then another big reason why our customers come to us are compelling events, things like mergers and acquisitions, where you have to combine two sets of data, or you need to understand how one company is calculating MRR versus somebody else. Another really big use case, like I mentioned earlier, is removing integrations. We found that, when you add an integration, you don't need to really understand the complexities as much because you're creating new fields. But when you go to make that removal, you need to find out where it's tied to, kind of where all the skeletons are buried. So those are just some examples of the folks that we're going to be helping out. And now here, put my money where my mouth is. We're going to hop into the demo. A quick mini agenda for you all out there. First, we're going to be looking at what is called cards, which is the dependency mapping, the kind of foundational problems that we're solving. Then we're going to look at timelines, which is the addition, modification, deletions. We also have a feature called initiatives, which is really taking documentation and tracking processes to the next level. And then finally, potential issues. Again, I'll be pausing throughout to make time for any questions. Feel free to speak up or ask questions in the chat. We have Dave here to help out with that. So I'm just going to pause this for a moment and get logged in here. While this is loading, any questions so far? Anything interesting that I can speak to? No, I think so. Okay. All right, so basically what we're looking at here is the Sonar Dashboard. I'm in our demo org, our demo sandbox, so it's pretty lightweight in terms of fields and automations, but this will give you a good idea of what we're looking at. One thing to call out is you can very easily switch between orgs. A lot of our customers have it in UAT, they have it in their sandbox, and even into production, and you can jump back and forth between those at the click of a button, so that's really helpful. But to give you an idea of how our dependency mapping really works in the cards is, first we can use an example, like let's say you get a request to update the opportunity stages in your org. Then we can jump into the quick find here. And very quickly, we're going to start indexing across the entire org, every piece of metadata. So you can see, let me blow this up a little bit. We have objects, workflow rules, validation rules, all the way down into individual fields. But what we're going to do is take a look at the opportunity, and very quickly at a glance, you can start to see the dependencies versus having to try and find all those dependencies, opening up a bunch of tabs, going through different monitors. Across the top, you can see there are 105 fields on this object. There's 53 other objects that are referencing this object. We have 50 pieces of automation. And then also this is tied to 189 reports. And then you can click into any one of these to really dive deeper. If there are specific flows that you wanted to check out, you can do that here. We can toggle off inactive versus active, so you can really just see what is running on your system right now. And you can run that through all of those automations. If you wanted to jump into the specific automation, you can do that as well and really start to dig into what's going on with these pieces of metadata. You can look at it by field or by node to really give you an idea of what's happening there. If we go back to the fields here, we can see stage is going to be ranked at the top here. We're automatically going to sort this based on the number of times these fields are referenced. You can see here stage has 23 references, there's 12 pick list values, and it's being referenced in 116 reports. So I just wanted to pause there. This is kind of typically where we stop. Were there any questions? Is there anything so far that has jumped out that we can address before we move on to the next level of detail?
Quick question. How many API calls does this make to the system? Like roughly?
Is it? Let Sam take that one.
Yeah, great question. It's very low, so it varies based on the size of your Salesforce org. But you can check it in the Salesforce sync log directly within Sonar, so you can view it. We've never had any customer say, "Hey, you guys are using up our API logs," so it's very low.
Thank you.
But it varies.
Yeah, depends on the size and the complexity, but pretty low. Thanks for the question. Okay, moving right along here. From here, we can really start to dig into that next level. So, we click on stage. It's going to open this up. Again, similar look as the opportunity object there. We can scroll through the different pieces of automation to really understand what's involved, what's being referenced is, from flows all the way to Apex classes. We can even jump in and start looking at these from a code standpoint, where these fields are being called, how they're being called. If you want to just know which fields are being pulled, you can do it that way as well. And then also this is a newer feature for us. It was highly requested by a lot of our customers, is what reports are pulling from this. And not only what reports are referencing this information, but where is this information being used as a filter? If it's in a column, that's good to know, but if you make a change, not really going to break anything too bad. Where it's being used as a filter and as a formula, this is where it becomes really helpful to understand all of that. Another thing to call out here is Sonar is read-only for the time being. So once you scope out the change, you look at the piece of metadata that you need to investigate, you can actually jump into Salesforce directly to that piece of metadata at the click of a button. So then you can then roll out that change. There you are. So that's a really good look at the cards and the dependency mapping. The next piece, once you've scoped out the changes, you need to go and implement that change. And that's really where our timelines is going to bring a lot of value, especially if you have multiple people at your company making changes. This timelines is going to do a great job. You can select the range here. We got a question, Dave?
Yeah, Kevin, I think Erin had a question. She asked, does it show info for private reports as well?
Sorry, you say it one more time?
Erin had asked, does it show info for private reports as well?
And correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, but we're only going to be able to see what the user who we synced as can see. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. When you sync with Salesforce for the first time, you can use a specific user or an API user. Whatever they have visibility into in Salesforce is what you'll be able to see in Sonar. So it just depended on when you OAuth into Salesforce, what permissions that user has.
Cool.
Good questions.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
Sonar Sam, everybody. All right. So getting back to the timelines, and thank you for that question. Keep those coming. We love that. Sure thing, Aaron. Thanks for asking. So back to the timelines, we're going to be able to basically turn back the clock to as early as the initial sync with Sonar. So not only are we going to be tracking the addition and modifications from a summary standpoint, and here very quickly you can see every type of automation that we have, even fields added, deleted. But what's really helpful is when you start to look at this detailed list of changes. So down here, not only do we see when the change was made We can see the display name, the type, what type of change was it, and then also, who made that modification. Again, really helpful if you have multiple cooks in the kitchen, or maybe you have some admin users out there who are running kind of like the Wild West. Also, if you have consultants, this is a really helpful way. Sometimes they're not always the best with documenting what they're doing. Here you have this automatic documentation, so when they do leave, you can very quickly track back what they did and maybe did not do. Also keep them honest. Another thing we can look at is the actual context of these changes. So of the modifications, we can see what was in there to check those out. If we look at something like Apex classes, very quickly, we can start to see not only there was this change made, but the previous value and then the current value. So if you do need to troubleshoot, if you need to walk something back, you can very quickly pinpoint and uncover the problems that you're looking to solve there. All right, so we're at another one of those kind of natural pausing points. Anybody have any additional questions before we move on to our initiatives and how we scope out the business processes? Nope. Cool. So the next thing up is something called initiatives. And what we're trying to do here is really cover that gap from requirements gathering. And then Anshul had a question.
Yeah, he's asking, he says, new to Sonar, do you have any basic material for Sonar?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'll send out some material afterwards. Our website, sonarsoftware.com, does a really great job as well of conveying that. We actually just updated it, so a ton of info there. Dave, you want to put that in the chat? Sonarsoftware.com. Awesome, thanks. So back to initiatives here. Again, so like what we're trying to do with this is cover that gap from requirements gathering, getting sign off, actually deployment. So everybody's doing this already, but it's kind of that missing piece in the something like Jira or Asana, that project management software. It doesn't have as much as that of the technical scope that you're looking for. So what we can do with this is start to put in some descriptions of what you're doing, those maybe who's involved, timelines and dates, what you need to accomplish. But what's really helpful is you can start to add technical scope to these. So if you're going to be updating a legal review stage or creating a new opportunity stage, you can pull in the pieces of metadata and you can start to use this as a checklist. You can search directly within this. If we needed to add, let's say stage, we could actually come over here and add opportunity stage into this. We're not going to lose our place. So this way you're going to be documenting your work as you go. You can build out tasks and really keep track of everything that needs to be changed. You can put comments on this. If you're working together with someone, you can put at messages in here, get them notified so you can keep up with everything that's going on. So that's the initiatives. And then, so we've looked at scoping, the metadata dictionary, the timelines for tracking those changes, the initiatives to document the projects that we're working on. And then the other piece that I totally skipped over, and I apologize about that, is going to be our tags. So within Sonar, we're going to track the metadata, objects, fields, automations. What our tags are going to cover are those third-party integrations. So things like marketing automation software, Marketo's in here, SalesLoft. If those pieces are writing to a field or reading from a field, like opportunity, like the opportunity object or the stage field, that will be where you can get those. Go back to the dashboard here. So if we look at that opportunity object, you can see those tags on those fields there. So again, really giving you a scope outside of your Salesforce org to understand what's going on throughout the tech stack. And then the last piece that we're going to show you here is potential issues. And what we're looking to solve for here is things that tend to break in silence. In other automations, you're going to get an error message. You're not going to be able to save it out and publish it. With validation rules, those tend to break in silence. So unless somebody catches it, unless that sales rep reaches out to you and says, hey, I didn't have to submit the loss reason anymore, or maybe marketing team is running a report to do a close lost opportunities, you don't really find out until that gets broken. or is made aware of it. And so what we do with these is say, hey, something with this closed loss validation rule is not firing correctly. We're going to highlight, not sure of timing. There's something going on with this. So then we can jump in and we can investigate. All right, here's the pick list value. Here's a code snippet. Let me take a look at what we have in the metadata. And as we scroll down, we can see, here we're calling not sure of timing, but the value is actually unsure of timing. So, that's kind of breaking in silence, and that's something we're surfacing. We're only doing validation rules right now. We're going to be expanding this out to other automations as we go deeper in Salesforce. All right, so I just talked for a really long time. I'm happy to say we are at the Q&A section of the meeting. Was there any other questions that anybody didn't get to ask that they'd like to bring up at this point, now that you've kind of gotten a picture of Sonar? Or you can put it in the chat if your microphone happens to not be working.
How often do you release updates and upgrades? Is it aligned with Salesforce's release cycle, or are you kind of on your own cadence?
Yeah, really good question, Dale. I appreciate you asking. We are coming out with a major release once a quarter, and then we have some minor quality of life things happening every week, every 2 weeks. The biggest one that we just came out with is we've applied Sonar to Pardot. So for those folks that are using Pardot out there, we're now able to map the data bi-directionally between those two systems, let you know who's syncing, which is the single source of truth. We did a big engineering push to apply this blueprint to Pardot. And now the next step is to come back to Salesforce and go a little bit deeper on things like Apex triggers, flows, since as Salesforce is deprecating process builders and workflows. So a lot more to come from us.
And then,
so short answer to the question is once a quarter. Yeah.
Gotcha. Fair enough. And then have you come across any issues with other managed packages in orgs in terms of analyzing fields, objects, etc.?
It's a really good question, Sam. Would love to get your feedback. Any issues on analyzing managed packages in orgs, or like analyzing fields or anything like that?
No, it'll work the same way. I'm curious if you had any specific examples, but essentially if that managed package, has fields or automations, whether it's Apex or flows, we'll show that just as if you had built it yourself. So it'll all show as soon as that's installed. Again, whoever has that API user has a license and has visibility into those fields or automations, it'll show in Sonar for all the users in Sonar.
Gotcha. No specific instances, just knowing that with managed packages, especially once you get into code and everything, that a lot of it's hidden. So how much of that is Sonar able to break through and at least understand this field is referenced in this code from this managed package or whatever?
Yeah, totally. It's the same thing. As I have visibility in Salesforce, I can see it in Sonar, but for those cases where it's hidden, like it's proprietary, right? We're not going to be able to see it in Sonar. That would be concerning, I think. But yeah, that definitely is the case.
Awesome. Thank you, Sonar Sam. Fantastic. All right, so I'm going to give it 10 more seconds. Is there any other questions? Anybody that had something written down they've been waiting to ask before we get to the real fun stuff here and give the information for the iPad?
I just had a quick question about
Sure.
you showed that screen where you were comparing the Apex code with previous version. Is it possible to, roll back partial changes live there, or do you have to just see what's there and then go to your editor and change it?
Yes, really good question, Tim. The current state is we are a read-only platform, so you wouldn't be able to make any tweaks within Sonar. But what you can do is you can pull up that piece of code, and then there's going to be the Salesforce cloud attached to any piece of metadata, and you can jump right in. So that's how we're going to be solving for that.
Okay. And then kind of part two of that question, do you have similar ability to compare the Aura components, Lightning components, and of course, flows and process builders is kind of a question there too.
No, we just have, so for those, right now, we just have the new version. Since it's a new version for us in the timeline, it looks like it was created new, right? That's how Salesforce is pushing it to us. So we have to just build functionality to kind of mitigate that and work around it. So we're out of the box with Apex, or if you change a formula field, I use that all the time because I don't write Apex. You can see the before and after there. But for flows and process builders specifically, it's not going to show the details of the prior version because Salesforce is giving it as new information. But that's on the roadmap and something our product team's excited to build as we get there. So,
and I would love to hear more about that in the future, just because flow versions got deprecated several Salesforce releases ago, and it's a giant pain in the, you fill in the blank. So
yeah, just creating new copies now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. Versioning.
Yeah, thank you. Of
course. Okay. All right. Let's see here. So yeah, really appreciate the time, everybody. Let's go in. So what's next for us? Looking forward, we're going to be going deeper in Salesforce. I mentioned, Apex flows is something we're looking at. Pardot is live. We're going to be expanding on that as well. Marketo's coming next. And then really big picture for us as a company is, tracking data from, the form fill all the way to closed one, getting paid. So we're going to be looking at ERPs, extended marketing automation, and just, the full tech stack is the big dream for us. So keep an eye on us. We're doing some really exciting stuff. We're growing really fast. Now to the good stuff here. So to enter to win, for everybody that's still around, excited to give this away, you can either go to bit.ly/Sonar giveaway, or you can scan this QR code to enter. It's going to be a type form. Just have to put in some information so we can figure out how to contact you if you win. Also, there is only going to be one winner, one iPad, unfortunately, but we are going to be offering one free week trial of Sonar. Typically, it's between 24 and 48 hours, but since you are joining this, we got invited here. We're going to do a little bit extra. We can get that set up. Again, the sync process is very lightweight. All metadata, you can get it done in around 5 minutes. So definitely keep that in mind. We'll be reaching out about that. And then the last thing I would recommend, we have this incredible Salesforce operations community on Slack. It's called WizOps. You can go to the site wizops.org. There's a ton of great people in there, a ton of great conversations around careers. They even have a hashtag called Dumpster Fire, where people just kind of get in there and vent about problems that they're having, maybe orgs that they inherit. And just a great spot. We're pretty strict on who they allow in there, so you're not going to get any sales folks like me or Dave. It's just folks in the industry there. It's kind of a safe space. So that's it we have. Dave, we actually put that link in the chat. So yeah, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, man. Awesome. So that's it from us. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to me here and on this info. Here's my email, my number, or you can go to our website, sonarsoftware.com, and that's also in the chat. So that's it from us. But thank you again for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin, Dave, and Sonar Sam. Great stuff like this. The more you know about your org, no matter what role you're in, the better. And it's always great to see tools and companies like these that are helping you as the admins or the developers or the BAs or tech leads, whatever role you may fill. These tools are definitely necessary for your tool bench and for your tool belt. So thank you, team. Thank you, Kevin and team. So
yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Switching gears over from the tech side of things to career development. So Maurizio Gioffre from Montreal Associates a couple of weeks ago reached out to us and said that he had presented to the Toronto user group about building your brand and specifically digitally. I mean, it's 2021. That's where we are now. Is everything is digital, everything is online. There's a right way to do it. There's definitely a lot of wrong ways to do it. And so as you start thinking about building your career or progressing your career or who knows, changing your career, whatever it may be, Maurizio is here to give some perspective and give some guidance on some tips on not only how, but some why as well. So from the lovely city of Toronto, which I have visited before and I loved it. I want to do it again, is Maurizio Gioffre. Take it away, sir.
Thanks, Dale. I appreciate that intro. And like you said, man, at the end of the day, as much as there's a lot of digital networking that's been happening over the next couple of years, we are going to go back to in-person, and it's going to be a combination of the two. So today is really just how you can leverage building an online brand over time so that, you know, when the time comes where you may have to look for a new job, it may not even be your choice. It might just be sprung upon you one way or another. You have a bit more options, and you have I would say you're probably even less stressed, to be honest, about maybe taking some time to look for something that's actually going to suit you. Really quick to just reintroduce a couple things. Montreal Associates is a company that I work at. We're a recruitment company, traditionally based in Europe. You guys probably never heard of us out in the States, but I guess the biggest highlight is we used to be a Velocity recruitment partner. So that's Salesforce Industries. That used to be called a product called Velocity. We were their main recruitment partner. They got acquired by Salesforce, and now we're a global recruitment partner for subcontract for Salesforce all over the world. I handle everything that we do in North America. Through the time I've spent in recruitment, it's been almost 6 years now, 5.5 years. When I started, and this isn't even that long ago, to be honest, there wasn't the same type of LinkedIn activity that you see now, right? There isn't the same type of social presence as well, that a lot of people kind of put themselves out there on socials in regards to work, right? So what we're really going to be talking about today, whether you enjoy using these platforms or not, it is a way for you guys to take things at your own pace, start building a bit of a brand around an area that really genuinely interests you, and start making some meaningful connections so that when the time comes for you to actually look for a new job, if you ever need to, even if you're in your dream job now, we've seen over the past couple of years, anything can happen, right? This should take some of that stress away from you to realize, hey, I am really good at this. This is the value that I bring. People recognize that clearly. And like I said, we'll help open up opportunities for you. So I'll just skip over to my next slide. Why is personal branding important? Honestly, what it does, you'll have a lot of people who will say certain things like, oh, you know, I only accept connection requests on LinkedIn, for example, from people that I've met before. Maybe true. You have others who think that you have to write this very personalized message every time you send it to someone. You have other people who say, forget all that. You should just click add if you're interested in connecting with someone. They might kind of come back to you, right? The biggest thing that building a personal brand does is it'll generate interest around who you are from people who you may not even have met yet. And effectively doing this over time makes it a lot easier to make connections with people who you may not have met before, right? Whether you're going to eventually meet these people in a networking session, in a professional setting, and at work, whatever it may be, this is a great way to start just building some interest around who you are and what you do. Realizing or thinking sort of what you bring to the table is something that is also going to be super important as a beginning step to all of this. Now, there's like a spectrum of experience in Salesforce, right? You'll have people who are, say, fresh out of school, or maybe didn't even go to school, and are starting on Trailhead, right, for the very first time, doing different trail mixes and modules and all these sort of things. And then you have on the other side of that spectrum, people who've been there since maybe even the Siebel days and crossed over, right? And they have a ton of project experience, successes, failures, all these different things. Both sides of that spectrum are super valuable to the ecosystem for very different reasons. Depending on what a company's looking for, they do want a little bit of both and everything in between. Realizing and being, I think, real with yourself as far as where you're at and thinking about what edge that brings you, this is something that is important to know from the beginning, because this is what's going to help getting you to start thinking about, hey, what should I be putting out there? What's, you know, authentically interesting to me? What's challenging me right now? Because I guarantee you, wherever you're on that spectrum, there's a lot of people who, even if they're not looking for people like you, they are someone like you, and they can relate. And whatever challenges you're going through, whatever you're learning, whatever you're studying for, they're probably doing that same thing. If you're on the other side of it, right, where, you know, you've had so much project experience, maybe some of those stories and cases that you've had to deal with, sharing what you can, of course, within the limits of whatever you've signed. But a lot of that it's stuff that other people are going to be experiencing too. Is as highly customized as a lot of these implementations and integrations and the like are, a lot of them are very similar, especially companies that are similar, right? So realizing where you are, realizing what you bring to the table, and keeping that in mind before you sort of get going. The next thing that you want to really think about is who your audience is going to be. Like, what would be the point of you really getting out there or putting yourself out there? What do you want in return? Is it simply just, hey, if I'm ever looking for a job, I'd love to have some people who already know what I do to reach out to? Is it maybe for like you're cool where you are, you have a great network already of people who you think might hire you at some point, but hey, I don't really have anyone to study with. You know, I have all these certifications coming up. I want to build more of a network there. Whether it's trying to find a mentor as well, right? Somebody who can really take you under their wing and get you to that next level. Whether you're an admin who wants to become a developer who wants to become a TA or CTA at some point in the future, whether you're, you know, a BA or a consultant who wants to move into like a solution architect, pre-sales type world, finding a mentor is super key for a lot of this stuff. And it can also help you with that too. So realizing who your audience is going to be, whether it's one of those or a mix of all of them, getting on their radar, and having you on their radar, so following those people, adding those people on, say, LinkedIn, for example. It's something that even if you're not reaching out or messaging them right away, as you start to post some of the content that we're going to talk about in a little bit, it's how you start to become familiar with each other. It's kind of weird almost when you think about it, but it's something that works. Like we talk to candidates about this all the time. One thing we found recently, especially with a lot of the uncertainty that's been going on over the past couple of years, especially in the contractor space, but not limited to the contractor space, you have people who, because of maybe it's a combination of like, you know, them working in one place for so long and a family, for example, that they have to support, they feel, as much as you hear about the great resignation and this and that, there are a lot of people who feel very stuck in their role, because it's like, wow, I haven't interviewed in so many years. I don't really know anyone else who might be looking for me. I've been at this company so long. I feel like I've plateaued for a while. Am I really good at what I do? I don't feel like I have too many options, at least that I know of off the top of my head, that if things went south tomorrow, I could do that. This slow, methodical building of a network, at least online for now, is something that will, as you start to connect with more people, make you more comfortable about, you know, what you bring to the table and your ability to find a new job that you're actually going to really like in the future if you need to look. How do you start creating that? That's a question we get a lot too. So I'm not someone who's like naturally good at this stuff. I experiment a lot, right? In my role, my job is to network with people. So I can kind of just play around with posting different things and seeing what works and what doesn't for me. And I mean, you can do the same thing, but if you want to be more careful, maybe I'm not sure what company you work at, how different companies have different rules about certain things that you can post, right? But if you want to just be, you know, very, I guess, straightforward with this sort of thing and start somewhere easy, the most authentic thing, the most genuine thing that you're probably going through in your professional life is what you're learning and what's challenging you. So struggles that you're genuinely having, right? The more that you can share with the rest of the community what you're experiencing, that's something that's so easy to engage with because it's relatable. You don't really have to think too much about, are people going to like this? Or, you know, are people going to kind of feel my pain with that? The Salesforce ecosystem is all very similar, like we said before, and people experience very much so the same things to some degree. So the more you just start with that, hey, look, this week or this month, this is something that I really struggled with, whether it's on Trailhead, so you have no project experience, something happened, you know, in the modules that you're working through, a certification like Dale was saying before, you failed. You don't have to be scared to share that kind of stuff, especially if you're very self-reflective in why you think that you failed. That could be a great way to get the help that you need to pass the next time, right? So that's a really great way to start. Another thing you can do if, you know, you still kind of want to feel it out before you start posting your own stuff, commenting and liking other people's posts, weighing in on whatever your opinion might be, is also something that's totally cool to do. And it really does get your name out there. And you don't even have to say anything that's like, you know, radical or crazy, like simple comments, just giving your honest opinion. Hey, like, that's really interesting. In my experience, I've gone through this. What do you think? Have you gone through the same thing at some point? It's pretty easy to engage in conversation that way. And there's great content that people are posting all over the ecosystem globally. So there's tons of stuff that you can piggyback off of to just start getting your name out there. Now, I mentioned Salesforce Industries in the beginning because through our work with them, we've really seen, I would say, a massive global need for candidates that are incredibly specialized. Now, in some cases, it's very easy for candidates who are specialized in a given industry, for example, or platform, to be found. In other times, it's not so easy, right? It really depends on how you brand yourself on LinkedIn. If the person doesn't know you, they don't have your CV, all they see is this piece online, right? And it just says that you've worked at, you know, X consultancy, right? With nothing much there, maybe no certifications are listed or they're not updated. It's really hard to tell if this person's been specialized in an industry or platform or not. And this is just something that, as you think about what your personal brand is really going to be, something that you might want to take into account, whether you've been in the ecosystem a long time and you're looking to maybe pivot, whether you've been in that industry a long time, you just want to open up opportunities, or you're just starting and you're deciding on, hey, like, where should I go? So we get a lot of people who ask us, you know, what should I specialize in, right? Why, or not why should I pick something, but what's the best specialization? And the best answer I can give is like, just think about whether it's a piece of technology, a platform, or an industry that's super interesting for you, that even if you weren't working, you'd probably still research the stuff and you could talk about it all night. That's really the best place for you to be. Even if it's not the highest paying industry, it's where you're likely going to be the most happy. And I mean, especially like in the States, Canada as well, but especially in the States, when it comes to Salesforce, everyone's paid pretty well, regardless of even the highest paying industry or not. So it's something to at least consider. If, I mean, not everybody has, you know, found something within their job that they're incredibly passionate about. So if you're still curious to see which industries are super booming at the moment, energy and utilities, telecommunications, insurance, health, these areas that, you know, funny enough, do align with, you know, the Salesforce industry verticals, are hurting for industry specific talent. So if there was somebody, for example, who branded themselves, or more people who branded themselves as, even if you're just like a straight up Salesforce Industries consultant or Salesforce consultant with some, you know, CPQ experience, but you've worked in telco for, you know, X amount of years, 5-6 years. If people know who you are, you're going to be getting a lot of direct opportunities specifically for that, because there's just so much, and not necessarily locally. The more specialized you are with things like this, the more flexible a lot of companies are with time zones, with rates, with all types of things, because there's just an incredible lack of talent. So when you're building your brand, just consider, am I in an industry that's really booming, or am I in an industry where I think I can, you know, I can make something out of this, specifically within Salesforce? Consider it, because it's a massive opportunity. The last thing I want to get to here is, some people will question, should I specialize more in tech products, or like, for example, a platform, sales, service, experience, revenue cloud, whatever it might be, or an industry? There's no like right answer, but this is something to consider when you're deciding on what's best for you. As you can see with the Salesforce platforms, they're merging, they're separating, there's something new that's being added. They're changing so quickly, and you're going to have to upskill anyway. Okay. Now there's a relative area, like when it comes to contract, CPQ, CLM, that kind of go together. For example, there's other platforms that go best together too, but there's so much change and merge and separation that you're always going to have to upskill on that side. With the industry related business problems that you're going to be solving project after project, this is why the industry specialization comes in handy, because you can't just like take a trail mix or do a trailhead module and become a master with all the business problems that insurance companies have been dealing with for the past like 20 years, or telco, or energy and utilities. Like, it doesn't work that way. Those problems change a lot more slowly. And if you're someone who's kind of been along the whole ride to see how incrementally those business problems have adapted and changed, required something new, that's where you really get that industry experience. So doubling down on maybe something like an industry and continuing to sort of upskill on the tech platform side could be a good way that, if you do decide to specialize and kind of focus your brand around that, something definitely to consider. So how do you sort of take action with this, right? How do you begin doing this right now? We're going to kind of go through a few steps how this is possible, and of course, open it up to any sort of questions. I don't know if I can see the chat with my screen like this. So if there is a pressing question that I can't see, Dale, if you want to just throw it out and say it to me, I'm happy to answer that as we go. But if not, I'll just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. So getting back to what we said before, what will the ecosystem find valuable about me? Get this straight in your head. Where are you at on that spectrum of experience, right? Are you the young, hungry new grad who has all the time in the world to do extra hours and, you know, basically work like someone who's, you know, been in the ecosystem a longer time, maybe can't do because they have different commitments? You know, you're working on that first certification, or are you the experienced veteran with successes and failures, right, that people could actually learn from? And then of course, there's everything in between. If you're, for example, on one side, let's say the new experienced person, you could be doing all the modules in the world, all the certifications in the world leading up to your first job. But if no one knows what you're doing, all that kind of goes in vain unless they look at your CV, right? Unless they actually log into Trailhead and see the specific modules that you've done, right? If every time you do, say, a super badge, for example, or every time you're doing a trail mix to prepare for a certification, you complete something, if you just share with everybody who's connected to you, even on LinkedIn, even if it's not a lot of people, remember, you don't have to be like this million follower influencer. You have 10, 20 people who are in the right place, who know what you do. That's really all you need, right? Remember why we're doing this. If you can even just tell, right, you complete something like this, whether it's once a week, once a month, get a cadence that works for you. What was challenging about this that you completed? What did you learn, right? That's something that makes you different than everyone else who's just sort of clicking through the modules as best they can, try and get some badges. People can actually see that you're reading what you're learning, you're trying to make the application connections in your mind, and this will separate you from everyone else who's trying to do exactly the same thing. You'll look a lot different. It's good for your brand. And if you're someone who, like we said before, who's on the other side, right, or along that other side where you have project experience, talk about that, right? If you've succeeded in a project, you don't have to give like the specific client name or anything. You could just say, look, like this is a project that I did in X industry. This is a business problem that they were going through. This is where we really got stuck. This is why we had to switch products. There's so many different, I guess, angles that you could take. And you guys would know better than me because you're in the weeds with that all the time. It doesn't have to be anything super long or super crazy, but just getting in the mentality of sharing those types of successes and failures that you literally experience every day. That's content for you to put out there to start engaging with people in your network. The next thing is mapping your companies of interest. Now, maybe some of you do this already, maybe some of you don't. For me, I mean, it's like part of my daily job, knowing who works at what company, in what capacity, who might hire, who might leave, all these sort of things like I'm looking at every day. But if you were to pull up a list of companies, now if you're, depending on the LinkedIn license that you have, like if you're on a paid version or a free version, there might be some limitations on the information that you get. But if there are, like you could reach out to someone like me. It's pretty easy for me to just look on LinkedIn and find out who works where. It's all public info. Just because you don't pay for LinkedIn doesn't mean you can't know that. So by all means, if there's any questions around that, you can come to me, but map out those companies that you genuinely would like to work at. You could even start with 5. You don't need a 50, 100 list companies of places you'd like to work. You may not have that many. You might have 3, you might have 5. Start with a few that it's like, hey, even if you have your dream job, if I had to leave tomorrow in 2 weeks, just given my package or whatever you want to call it, I got to leave. Where would I like to go? Forget about who needs me or who might hire me. Forget that. Where would you like to go? Pull those companies up. Do a little bit of research on them and see who works there. Who are the HR contacts at these companies? Who might the hiring managers be? And again, for me, it's pretty easy to tell. You don't have to tell me who the person might be who hires at a company specifically for Salesforce. Again, you can ask me that and it's pretty easy for me to find, but kind of use the knowledge that you have about the types of people who typically would be interviewing you and follow those people, right? Just click a quick follow. You don't even have to add them. You can literally just follow them for now. Maybe comment on a few of their posts. Eventually you might want to add them too, right? Get those people on your radar and get on their radar. Step 3, now that you've kind of thought about, okay, look, this is going to be my what the value essentially that I'm bringing to my network. This is who I am. I've sort of mapped the companies that I'm interested in. What's like your plan of attack to make sure you stay consistent? Because a lot of people will post like one really good article and then they fall off and they don't post anything for a very, very long time. Consistency is super important. It's not necessarily like the intensity of how great, a piece of post or a piece of video or content that you put out is. It's more consistency and always trying to give something back to the people who are connected with you, right? The way I started is I blocked my calendar. Like every Monday, the first Monday of every month, I was like, I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to write an article. Doesn't have to be long, could be short. The one, if you look at my profile, I wrote one today, super short, but super relevant to what's going on in the province that I live in Canada. Very short. Every Monday, I've kind of, at one point I made that, a metric for myself, right? And whether you want to write articles, whether you just want to do short form posts on LinkedIn, whether you want to get out there and post some videos, that's also cool. Really doesn't matter. You just start with what you're comfortable with. And again, this will just over time slowly steamroll. You'll get more creative. Your head's going to be in that space and you won't be thinking about doing it. So blocking time in your calendar to do some of these things, however, however big of a bite of a chunk you want to take from that, give that a shot. Likes and comments, like I said before, I mean, you don't want to be spending like all day on LinkedIn because that's just not productive, right? You're talking to a guy who actually doesn't really enjoy like social media at all. Like, ironically, it's not really my thing. But I mean, for work, it's great for making connections. So I just bite the bullet and I do the best that I can. You can block literally 10 minutes a day during your lunch and just quick scroll through the people you're connected to. Again, you're trying to tailor your network to people who you want to connect with, you think you could give value to. See what people have posted, a couple likes, couple thoughtful, insightful comments, even if it's only a couple, right? Every single day, just 10 minutes and shut it down. It's something that could definitely, or not could, it will, if you do it the right way, increase sort of your brand presence. People will remember your name. You'll be that first comment that pops up when you see a post. If you do it enough and you take the right approach. And at that point, once you start to get into the habit of this, you may want to get to a place where you're comfortable actually reaching out to people that you never met before. I was going to say it's pretty easy in an in-person event. For a lot of people, that's also like pretty hard too. To just walk up to someone you've never met and, hey, how are you? This is what I do. What do you do? Oh, cool. And just starting that conversation. Some people are naturals. Other people, they find it really hard. And same thing on socials. Even though there's a screen and the keyboard in the way, a lot of people still like, what do I say? How do I not come off this way? I don't want to look like, I'm just trying to take something from them, because you're not, right? The way that you're trying to gear your content is that you're trying to give something. You're giving your own personal experience that will hopefully help someone else. And when you do your outreach, that's kind of the same approach and thinking that you want to do, right? Because the more you can kind of give in this area when it comes to your own experiences or what you're going through, a lot of people can learn from that. So if I had the perfect method of outreach that I could give you guys right now, I'd probably be like a millionaire. But it's trial and error, right? Sometimes I send a simple message to somebody like a congratulations on their certification, and I'll ask them, I'm just curious to know a little bit, have you worked with that before? Sometimes I'll send someone literally a personal video, like 30 seconds of me just telling them honestly why I'm interested in having a conversation with them. This is me. This is what I do. You get a lot of messages like this probably, but this is why I want to come to you right now. And I give them that in a video format, right? There's nothing more personal than that. Sometimes I do it as a quick voice note. All of this stuff that you can do on LinkedIn, but you just want to play with it. And I think, like I said, the more authentic and genuine you can be about why you might want to reach out to them, to me, that's always been the most successful way. Think of them first. What can you offer? And make that outreach. The worst they can say is, no, sorry, I don't want to have a coffee with you. I don't want to take 10, 15 minutes on a Zoom call with you, right? It's all good. You don't have to take any of that stuff personal, but this is something that has helped me quite a bit, not just in finding a job, because like I can give you a quick backstory. I started doing this at my last job when I worked at Tech Systems. And a lot of the stuff that I was posting just around recruitment and this and that got me noticed by a company that's based out in London and Barcelona. They headhunted me at the time to go move out there. I spent a year in Barcelona working out in that market in Salesforce, of course. And then I moved back, and here I am now kind of running the show for everything that we do in North America. Now, it's not just attributed to the fact that I built a good personal brand, right? There's other things that you need to have in place within your actual job, but it's a big start to at least opening the door to some new conversations with some new people. And it's something that's been working for me. It's been working for the candidates that I'm working with. And you get really good at this, and who knows, you may never have to talk to guys like me anymore. So that's pretty much it from this presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions from anyone listening. Let me just maybe shut this share down if I even know how. There we go. Just a moment. There we go.
I do have a question, but I'll let others jump in.
Kathy, thanks for that comment. I appreciate it. If I can help 100%, I will.
So a question that I have, because like you mentioned, you're not really a fan of social media, and I I've definitely grown a more hate relationship with social media myself, but also seeing things like LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn seems like the easiest place to go when it comes to professional, but it itself is kind of starting to become social media-ish.
Yeah, man.
Your whole presentation was centered around engage, as it should be. But do you have, or have you had to think about any kind of disengage and repivot strategies? Because maybe you tried to engage, or you followed somebody that at least it started out as, yep, I'm going to follow this person, I'm going to follow this person. Either the well dried up, or oh, that went a direction I didn't want. Like, do you have any kind of pivot strategy when it comes to staying active, not seeing it as social media, but more networking and digital branding? Like, do you pivot at all?
Yeah, man, that's a super good question. To me, like, especially, I mean, I kind of do that all the time, because there's things that I'll post something, I'll post an article, and it's, 10 people read it, no one likes it, nothing like that, right? Like, it really didn't go anywhere, for example. Now, whether that means that piece of content just wasn't good, maybe it was at a bad time. There are so many things that I'm not going to dwell on. At the end of the day, it was something that I try not to think about that too much, and go back to kind of what we were saying before, where you want someone to kind of look at, let's say they're looking at your digital brand holistically, right? If they were to go through, say, the list of all the different things that you're sort of putting out there, they'd be like, wow, you know what? I actually do get a bit of value from reading or watching what this person's putting out there. I've experienced the same thing. It's really interesting to hear that perspective. Maybe I'm going to incorporate that next time I end up in that situation. So for me, I mean, when you're talking engaged, do you mean more like directly reaching somebody who maybe doesn't respond or something like that? Or is it more with the content that you're posting? What do you mean by engaged there?
Well, I think for people, like for anybody who's starting out, they will likely just be following and consuming.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much posting, and
Yeah.
influencer really feels like such a dirty word. But like maybe they're not at that stage yet of posting their own content to try to
For
help
sure.
others, following whatever. Do you have any signs or indicators or markers that you look for of maybe it's time to stop following this person, or like more from a consumption standpoint as they're getting started?
Gotcha. Yeah. That's a super good point. Because it's pretty easy to get sucked into just like, this is on any platform, right? And just keep scrolling through and reading this and that maybe someone's posting. To me, if you're following somebody on, say, LinkedIn, we'll keep it to that, right? And over time, whether it's like, some weeks or months, their content just it's not relatable to you. Like, there's no real, like, any sort of value that you're getting from reading or watching that. And maybe it's actually making you feel not great for whatever reason. That might be a sign that, hey, that's maybe not necessarily follow this person. No hard feelings or anything like that, but it's just not something that I need to have in my face all the time, right? And there's really no, you don't gotta feel bad about that, right? You're the one who's watching it, right? It's like on TV, right? If it's a channel that's not interesting, you're going to change, right? So that could be an indicator where if it's actually starting to make you feel a bit in a negative way, that's probably not something that, not a path you want to go down. For me, when I look at the people that I follow, I try and follow other people, again, because a lot of it is geared around my job too, right? Where I'm trying to network with people who I know are going to be doing big things in the ecosystem, interesting people that, I think I can help them. I think I can bring them an interesting role, right? Or I think I can give them some advice, even if it's just free advice on how to get whatever their next job is. So I kind of follow different types of people who've been in the game a long time, who I could place this person tomorrow if they came to me and asked for help. But then also other people who maybe are just starting out, and I can tell you frankly, I probably wouldn't have something tomorrow for you, right? Where I could actually put you in a role. But if you ask me for a bit of advice on like, this is where I want to take my career, could I tell you what, 10 other people this week have told me about how they got to where they are and why they want to go where they want to go? 100% I could do that, right? So for me, I try and find a bit of a balance between obviously what I have to do for my job, but also, like I said, you want to try and just give as much as you can, because I feel like if you're in that mindset where you're just trying to you know what you know, and you're trying to put that out there, I think more people are gonna take value from that, right? And sure, it might be good for your brand too, but you're actually gonna be doing a lot of good for other people. They're gonna find different jobs, they're gonna find different opportunities. Because it's not super easy, I would say. In Salesforce right now, as much as there's tons of opportunities and it's really easy to get interviews a lot of the time, the alignment between what the job actually is and I think what the person may want to do isn't always there. It's really easy to get an admin interview, but an admin interview at a company that is really going to get you going, this is not something that you always get. You know what I mean? Just a couple questions here. How much information should you post about in your about section on LinkedIn? That's a good question. It's up to you, really. To me, the way I look at LinkedIn is if somebody reads your LinkedIn, it depends, I think, on what you're comfortable sharing too. For me, I want someone to, if they read my LinkedIn, and you guys can go do that and give me feedback later. I'm cool with this, good, the bad, the ugly. I would just hope somebody reads through it and they kind of know my personality a bit, right? I have a section with accomplishments and stuff, so they would know some like hard figures on what I've done. But it's more like, I have a feeling that if I talk to Maurizio, I probably know a bit about how that conversation is going to go just by sort of reading a bit about him here. In your about section, you can take it one of two ways, right? There's the typical, I think, that a lot of people put where it's just like, this is me, this is what I specialize in, this is how you can get in contact. If you want to be a bit funny with it, a bit cheeky, that's also something that grabs attention and kind of can show a bit of personality. So to me, I don't think it's a matter of quantity, but it's more, how do you want people to perceive you before they even have a chance to talk to you, right? I've had people where I've been connected with them on LinkedIn for a while. I'll go to an in-person networking session. Person comes right up to me and they're like, hey, like, you know, I've seen some of what you posted. I feel like I already know you. You know what I mean? And we kind of have a laugh, and right away there's like a nice sort of personal connection there. So it really depends on what you want to put there. From Kathy, should you post personal information out on LinkedIn? I feel some people do, it helps you get to know them personally, but I also feel LinkedIn should just be professional. There's two ways of looking at it. Absolutely. You don't have to take that route, right? Where you're kind of sharing a bit about who you are. If you just want to be straight business on that profile, that could also say something about your personality too, and maybe how somebody should gear their approach to you, right? Something that's going to be a bit more tailored to, hey, you know, this is how Kathy writes her profile. Maybe this would be a more appropriate approach if I were to decide to reach out to her for this or for that. So it's kind of, there's no right or wrong answer, but if you look sort of in here and how you feel about doing this or that, start with what feels good and see how that goes. Can't go wrong with your gut, right? I mean, you can, but it's just LinkedIn. Don't worry. All right. Anything else? Those are great questions.
What besides LinkedIn do you use in the digital space?
Oh man, I can't lie. Recently, I did give TikTok a shot. I did for a specific reason that in the States specifically, you can actually apply for jobs with video CVs through TikTok. Like other companies are, I guess, partnered with them in a way where you can send a video CV through TikTok. Now for Salesforce, I think there's a long way to go. The guy who stands out to me from TikTok and the Salesforce ecosystem right now, who's doing pretty great, is Brad Rice, Talent Stacker. You guys have probably seen him. He's based out of the States. I can't remember exactly where, but he has a program, you know, helping people go from basically ground zero to their first admin job. He's doing some great stuff. We're going to be doing a session, him and I, probably in the coming weeks. But he's on there. He's doing some great stuff. I think it's something that could pick up over time, especially with the fact that people are literally, you can send a video CV through it, but it's very exploratory for me. Like I'm just playing with that. A lot of the time I'll upload content to TikTok and I might take that video and throw it on LinkedIn. I actually did that this morning. It's on my page. So very exploratory. I've heard people throw Twitter out to me. I used to have Twitter many years ago. It's just not my thing. I don't think I can really be authentic on it right now. And that's nothing against Twitter. It's just like, everyone has their own style, and I just don't think it's really my style, at least for now. But LinkedIn and TikTok are the only two that I'm really using, and YouTube, of course. That's where like most of my content ends up, but I'm more active on those two.
Okay, the father of the teenager is gonna just make sure I heard that correctly. TikTok.
Yeah, man, I swear.
Seriously.
Yeah, I swear. It's like it's not, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not up there like doing all like the crazy dances and stuff like that. That's again, not my thing, but, yeah, you can check it out. Like I said, Brad Rice is another guy who does a lot of good Salesforce geared TikTok content. All of mine is Salesforce geared as well. And a lot of it's like very informative, right? Whether it's like a new job that I'm talking about, whether, you know, it's just something at work that we had going on. I think it's really, you know, a cool, fun way to throw it out in a video format. Yeah, man, it could go that way where a lot more companies are jumping on it and they want to engage the new generation. They want, you know, to make it easier for them to apply to different jobs, and they go in that direction where they're also going to accept like these video CVs. But only time will tell. So I figured I'd jump on it early and see how it goes.
TikTok. I mean, no, really serious question. Like, how? Maybe Brad's the anomaly. Maybe Brad's the pioneer. But how is that breaking the perception of a lot of us who see TikTok more as like social media, teenagers doing teenage things, like all of that? What has he done? What is he doing? What are others doing to, I don't want to say acceptable, but like make that click with hiring managers and others that, oh yeah, this is happening here on TikTok as well, like professional, actual, like non-criminal, non-whatever things
Literally.
are happening.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, there's a very small group right now of people who are in the ecosystem who are on it, and there's a lot of conversations that'll happen off different content that's posted. Oh, that's interesting that you talk about, say, building your brand this way, or there's some things where they actually talk about the platform, and you'll see in the comments a few people asking questions about specifically that topic, right? Where maybe they change this or they customize that. It's a very small group of people, though, I have to say. Like, it's nothing that a ton of people would know. Still very early, and I think it can go either way, where more people jump on it and they digest the content the same as they would on LinkedIn, for example. Video content, I'm talking specifically. But yeah, man, I don't have an end game answer for you because it's way too early. I just see, again, like I am seeing some initial pretty good engagement from, say, people like Brad, some other people. A lot of it, I would say, when I look at the candidates who are on there, it is more admins as opposed to, say, developers or architects. I'm not sure why. But most of the people that I'm connected on there who are in the ecosystem are specifically coming from an admin perspective, talking more about admin type work. I feel like I have a guess as to why they're, I mean, TikTok obviously up until now is geared very much towards the younger generation, kids in whether it's high school, university. There's a lot of programs now with different colleges and whatnot where I'm seeing candidates who, again, brand new, right? Just starting on Trailhead, but they're going for their first couple certifications before they even graduate, right? So you may have somebody who just graduates college, now they're 3 certifications deep. That's someone who right now in the market, the way it is, very marketable. Not saying you're going to have a job tomorrow, but like people will be interested in having a conversation with you 100%. And a lot of those people, right? A lot of that demographic, that's a place that they happen to be. Is that going to be a place where we end up getting a lot of Salesforce candidates? Like I know there's hiring happening there, not necessarily through Salesforce or in the Salesforce ecosystem. Again, that's only time's going to tell, my friend. I don't know.
That's interesting. So then, I mean, as social media and everything evolves at a much more rapid rate than, let's take, you know, email in the late 90s, early 2000s took over, like mailing in your resume or dropping it off with a secretary. Like, at what point do these kinds of methods hit end of life, or do they?
Another really good question. To me, if somebody's got like a killer LinkedIn profile filled out, I wouldn't even ask for their CV. Like if you really had it down to a point where it's like, this looks excellent. I get exactly what you've done in your projects. You have that sort of filled out to a point that's, you know, marketable to hiring manager. We get a bit of your personality in there. I would literally not even ask for the CV. I would just take this. As long as you're cool with it, I would send it to the hiring manager and we would get an interview going like that. I'm already at a point where I think I prefer a really, really good LinkedIn over a really, really good CV, only because you get some more personality from that. And as much as like the most important thing, right, when getting a job is like, what do you bring to the table as far as skills, but where are you going to be happy oftentimes depends on the personality mix between who you're going to be working for and the personality that you have, right? No one wants to work for someone who doesn't make them happy or doesn't, who makes their life hard, right? You want to enjoy going to work wherever you're going to work at. So to me, I just think LinkedIn's a really good way to allow that sort of to come out a little bit. And I think better matches will be made on the employee and employer side if things go more in that direction. But I mean, hey, we still get tons of CVs. It's like this happens all the time, right? Where you're just sending over a LinkedIn. Occasionally, if it's really good, we'll go that route, but still very much CV driven. I still do send a lot of emails. I try not to if I can manage it, but I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon. Great question. That one makes me really think. Says as for ads on social media helps the acceptance in professional spheres. I'm just trying to understand that point. I think help the video clips. It can separate from social/fun. Okay, interesting. I did not know
how you frame up the content helps separate it from all the other noise.
And I guess depends on who sees it too. Maybe geared toward a specific audience. That's super interesting. I will look into this. Nice, cool. Any other questions, comments, disagreements even? I'm open to anything.
Hey, this is Sandy real quick. I just wanted to pop back just for a second. You were talking about where, the next wave of admins are coming from. I'm kind of the anomaly as far as the Kansas City Salesforce user group is concerned because I'm not really working as an admin for anybody. I do training. Nice. Primarily Salesforce training. So I've been working with two different cohorts of adults who are looking for their next career over the last, since January. So 33 adults through one foundation and 19 through another group. Yeah, and they're all having this exact conversation as we get towards the end of their program. How do they build their digital brand? How do they find that junior Salesforce position or that first position as they get their certification? So you hit the nail on the head with a lot of your content here. And I was surprised actually as I got started with these cohorts, how many adults out there are trying to find those next jobs and looking to Salesforce for that solution. So there's the college kids out there and then there's everybody else. Salesforce is a great source of employment. So
yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you for sharing that, because you're right. Like there's a ton of people who are pivoting in their career completely, right? Maybe even outside of tech, not necessarily in tech and the Salesforce. But that's also too where I think instead of looking at it as a disadvantage where it's like, I've never really done it before, I've had this, say, training, for example, there's a lot of relevant experience that someone could have had in their past that could be something that they can take forward into a career as an admin, for example. Like I knew one guy, I spoke with him. He had like 16 years experience selling in CPG, right? And when he did some research, like looking into maybe a career at Salesforce, and he looked up, consumer goods cloud, this is somebody who can say, like with unwavering conviction, why this tool or this platform would be so helpful for somebody in his role, who would essentially be the user, right, of a technology like that. And that's experience that, not everyone's going to have. That's a lot of years in one place. So there's so many areas that you can find really good edges and advantages, no matter where you are on that spectrum of talent or whatever background that you come from. I spoke with another woman recently who has a background, working with medical devices, right? She understands how like these companies work, how hospitals work, all of that sort of thing, is looking to get more on the health cloud side. Excellent, right? That industry experience could definitely take her in the right direction. So yeah, there's so many ways where you can cross it over, but if no one knows, if you don't make that connection for people, they may not make it themselves, right? And that might make it harder. So you got to put it out there. Anyone else? If not now, totally cool. You guys can add me on LinkedIn, message me anytime. Any questions, I'm totally open to having a conversation. Definitely not a waste of my time. If I can give you some just of my personal experience, what other candidates are saying that might help you out, I'm more than happy to do that. So just reach out and I'll do what I can. Thanks, guys.
No, thank you. I'm actually working on a post that tags you right now. So it's all great stuff because, I mean, in the end, like we're all here in the user group because either because we love what we do and we want to meet other people who love what we do, or we're trying to get started, or we're trying to figure out the next step or whatever. Because it's our livelihoods, it's our jobs. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our family. And there's, like we said, there's many right ways to do it. There's many wrong ways to do it. And in the end, we need to think about how we can showcase ourselves as people, as humans, to do what we love, to follow what we love, to help others, whatever it may be. So this has been amazing. Thank you so much, Maurizio.
No, I'm glad to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are at a quarter till, and I do have client calls I need to jump back into here at the top of the hour. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. We're not going to have time for any breakouts or anything. Thank you, Maurizio. Thank you, Kevin, and your team. Thank you to everybody who joined. This is our last meeting of the year. I hope you all go into the holiday season happy, healthy, doing well. If you're not any of those above, please reach out to any of us. We're all humans who should be helping each other. And if there's anything that any of us can do for any of you, please don't hesitate to reach out. This is a meeting facilitated for Salesforce people, but again, we're all people coming into this. So happy to help in any way that we possibly can. Please don't hesitate to reach out. So with that, thank you. Take care. I wish you all the best going into the new year. We will have our next meeting in January. And yeah, thanks everyone. Take care.